Right, Chair. I think we're ready to go. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. Apologies for the late start. We've had a few technical issues. Good afternoon, councillors, officers, members of the public and press. Welcome to this meeting of Children's Service Committee. This meeting is a remote meeting being live streamed on the website and recorded. I will now hand you over to Denise Wimpenny for the Democratic Service team.
Thank you, Chair. We'll begin the meeting by way of a roll call of all those in attendance remotely, and may I request that members confirm they have a paper copy of the agenda and can both hear and see councillors in the meeting. I'll now begin the roll call. Councillor Hamilton. We have apologies from Councillor Hamilton. She's been called into an urgent meeting, so she said she'd join later if possible, but that was just a call we've just received. Councillor Harrison?
Yes, I'm here and I have the papers, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lauderdale?
Yes, I'm here and I have the papers.
Councillor Lindridge?
I'm here and I have the papers.
Councillor Little?
I'm here and I have the papers.
Councillor Moore?
I'm here and have all of the relevant papers.
Councillor Smith? The chair, yeah.
I'm here and I have all the papers.
Thank you. Can I now ask if there are any members joining the meeting I have not called? I note that Councillor Cartwright is present. Is there any other members? Thank you. That now concludes the roll call. In relation to the voting process, just to remind members that you need to remain on mute, and if any time you wish to speak, you need to use the raising hands process. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Minutes of previous meeting, can we all agree those? Agreed?
Agreed.
Yes, agreed.
You can still hear me, can you?
I can, John, I can still hear
That's
you.
okay, yeah.
We've got nothing under item 4, nothing under 5. Requiring decision, we've got the replacement of the hydrotherapy pool and remodelling at Springwell School. Can I just remind everybody that we have pink papers, so be mindful of any questions that are on the pink papers. We will have to stop the live streaming, so please give us warning that you are going to ask a question on the pink papers so we can stop that and then go back into public live streaming once the questions have been answered. Can I pass you over to, sorry, who's Julie?
Thank you, Chair, and to members of the Children's Services Committee for convening the meeting today. So the report is seeking approval for additional funding to replace the hydrotherapy pool at Springwell Special School in order to progress the works during the summer holiday period, as detailed in the confidential appendix. In section 3 is some background. So the replacement hydro pool was included in last year's schools capital programme, and in March this year members approved a total of £82,400 for its replacement and also a renewal of the showers and floor area. The costs approved were for a like-for-like replacement. So during initial meetings with the head teacher, she asked if feasibility and costing exercise could be undertaken to include a higher specification pool, and confirmed the school would fund additional costs depending on what they may be. The school is budgeted a total of £73,240 contribution for the revised project. This is made up of the £8,240 10% standard schools contribution agreed in March and an additional £65,000. The contribution estimate was based on costs for a similar pool at a different school in Hartlepool. The installation of a larger, high specification sunken hydrotherapy pool within the limited existing floor area has its complexities. The removal of internal walls, significant potential structural underpinning of the foundations. Installation of lintels, mechanical works, relocation of showers, change in area and electrical works are all required. The project is now a complete remodel. The feasibility design and costing exercise is now concluded, slightly behind schedule because of COVID-19 restrictions and specialist companies furloughing staff. Following a very recent mechanical engineering survey, it's all become apparent that the existing air handling unit may not have sufficient functionality to serve the larger pool area. This is also added to the shortfall of funding should the air handling unit replacement be required. In section 4 of the report describes the maintenance issues the school has experienced within their current pool and also issues seeking hydro provision elsewhere. It also mentions the benefits of hydrotherapy for children with complex health needs. I'll mention just one. Movement in the water and water pressure helps to reduce residual lung capacity for children and young people with chest problems. This enables more efficient lung function and reduces the risk of chest infections developing. Section 5, the funding. Special Provision Capital Fund is to be used to create new school places and improve existing facilities for children and young people with special educational needs and disabilities with an education, health and care plan. All students at Springwell have an education, health and care plan. In section 6, details the council's procurement process. In 7, there's some risk implications, and there would be a risk to pupils not being provided with essential pool therapy, which is identified in their education, health and care plans. Section 8, financial considerations. If the additional funding is described in a confidential Appendix A is approved, funding can be met from Special Provision Capital Fund. There are no legal considerations, nor are there any child and family poverty considerations. No equality and diversity considerations, and there are no staff considerations. In the final section of recommendations, and members are recommended to approve the additional funding for the replacement hydrotherapy pool and associated works as summarised in confidential Appendix A, subject to the school agreeing to increase their 10% standard schools contribution to 10% of the LA funding. Thank you. That concludes the report.
Thank you very much. Before we move on, I need to see if there's any declarations of interest within the report. No. Thank you, Leslie, for joining us. All right. Have we got any questions? Shane?
Thank you, Chair. I won't say too much. I think it goes without question that this hydrotherapy pool is needed for Springwell School. But just through reading through the report, and I noticed that when they had some issues accessing hydro pools previously over the previous academic year, it seems to be missed that we do have a hydro pool within the SIL that could have potentially been used by, and I think, rather than knock anybody for this or just moving forward, I think it's just worthwhile us remembering what facilities we do have in some of our other buildings so that those facilities can be used to the best extent. The only question I have is on pinks at the back. However, if I'm very vague about it, I think I'm not going to ask about actual figures. And it's just if I could ask what is entailed within the professional fees section? Because it does seem quite a lot, that's all.
The professional fees are for the design and feasibility work undertaken and project management work undertaken by Hartlepool Borough Council. In their standard, it's usually around about 10 to 12.5% standard fees they charge.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Jim?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think it goes without saying that the benefits are really important for young people from a mental health capacity, and also the added value benefits to the family, knowing that they've got the comfort, knowing that the children are getting well looked after. I just have one question in relation to Pinks, actually, in relation to maintenance, ongoing maintenance. It may be pertinent to discuss that in Pinks.
No worries, thank you very much. Is there any other questions before we move to a closed session? Brenda?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just to say that I actually went to see this when I was having a look around the school itself. I saw the facility. It really does need a whole makeover and a completely new kind of facility, and that the school will benefit greatly from the what has been suggested. However, I will say from a different point of view that I think we are very much in agreement that we're very proud of the special educational facilities that are in our town, and the more that we can support those in any way, the better, because that will be better for our children, better for our town. It'll keep them within the town if we've got those facilities. So I'm speaking generally there, but specifically for this one, it really is a need which we should support. So I'm very much in favour of this, and I would just like to give my support to it.
Yes, I think that there's nobody here would argue against the need for the hydrotherapy pool and how much it would benefit the children of the school, if not outside the school as well, if they have used that as a provision. If we move on to closed session now, and Jim will then be able to ask his question. Welcome back, everybody. We are now moving on to whether we approve or disapprove the recommendations. Are we doing it going through roll call?
Yes.
So anybody against the recommendations? No, so we're all in agreement that this will go through.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Fantastic. So all funded. The moving on to items for information or any other business. Now, I've spoken to Brenda previously, who wants to ask a question in relation to transport, of which I've agreed can go forward. I've invited Tony onto the Teams meeting to give a more detailed reply than the information that I know. So, Brenda, would you like to bring forward your question?
Yeah, thanks very much, Chair, and I appreciate the short notice it was, but I was only made aware yesterday of the fact that school transport was very different, if in existence at all, for the foreseeable future. So I just wanted some clarity on what has happened to it, where we're going forward with it, how we are helping our children to get to school in September. Thank you.
No problem. I do know that Hartlepool Borough Council Exposed has been speaking in regards to the transport situation, and they have totally got the wrong end of the stick in regards to the transport situation. So I will pass you over to Tony, who will clarify the situation and put your mind at rest.
Yeah, that I'll just say that's not where I got the information from.
Right.
No, we didn't.
I don't watch any. I don't look at anything like that. So that's not where the information came from.
It's caused a lot of stress and hassle to a lot of
Okay.
families who have read
So-
this.
So it would be good to have
yeah.
the clarity. Yes, thank you.
Tony.
Okay, thanks, Chair. So in terms of home to school transport, the council has a statutory duty to provide that travel for certain children who meet the eligibility criteria. That's defined as those who live within statutory walking distance from the nearest school, which is 2 miles for primary, live over, which is 2 miles for primary and 3 miles for secondary students. Those who attend the nearest suitable school and cannot reasonably be expected to walk there due to the nature of the route being unsafe. Extended right, which are those eligible for free school meals, or a parent with whom they live is receiving maximum working tax credits, and a student attending a school to meet their special education needs, disability or mobility problem. So in terms of that, as I said, it's defined within the Education Act 1996, and the council must adhere to that when providing home to school transport. Historically, we have obviously provided what are called concessionary permits to those who may wish to buy a seat if there are spare seats on a bus available. So if, for example, we take a number of children to a school, 60 on the yellow buses, and there's 40 children who are entitled to home to school transport, then we would sell those other 20 seats as concessionary fares. As a result of what's happened with the COVID, there's a number of issues that's been placed upon authorities, and at this moment in time, we don't have those concessionary fares available. One of those being the obvious one around social distancing. The government are yet to confirm what guidance has to be in place to get children to school, so we don't necessarily know how we can get the children on a bus in a safe way that meets with the social distancing rules. We've seen a number of low-income entitlement grow as a result of obviously COVID and the impact of what that might have when furlough schemes end and so on. So again, we don't yet know if that will take away the seats that are available. And then at the start of this year, there was an issue around what's called the Public Service Vehicle Accessibility Regulations, which came into place. And what that was about is it meant that all buses over 22 seats must be compliant in that they must be disabled access, and they must also have a number of other measures which are in place which the council must comply with if we are to charge a fare to get the child to school. So as I said, because of those reasons, the council took the decision early to inform parents to give them an opportunity to look for other ways to get the children to school, because what we didn't want to do was wait as to nearer the time and then say that those seats may not be there. What we are doing is working closely with those schools who may struggle to get the kids to school to look at alternative options. So we're having conversations with the schools to think of other ways in which we can assist. We're working with them at the moment. And if the situation changes, we will obviously notify parents as soon as we can. And we will keep them continually informed as things progress over the next, 4 to 5 weeks.
Thank you, Tony. Does that answer your question, Brenda? You're still on mute.
Yes,
Sorry.
yes, to a certain extent. Can I? Right, I'm getting this really strange noise through. Are you? I know what it is. Yeah, it's John.
I think it's John on the phone, actually.
Is there any way we can?
I've just muted him.
Thank you. So, right, can I just ask straight out, because I know there's a question coming, and I don't know where it's come from, whether the parent has read what you suggested they might have read, but will there still be a bus from Seaton?
Tony?
Yeah, I'm just unmuting. Sorry, Chair. There will still be buses in place to take children from. As I said, if they meet the statutory requirement, the local authority has a duty. We must provide that home to school transport for them if they fall within, as I said, those 4 bullet points I said at the start. So there will be those buses available. As I said, what we don't yet know is whether those concessionary permits will be there in terms of the free spaces because of the other problems that we have. So, as I said, it's one we're monitoring, it's one we're working. We're not simply saying we can't provide, but at the moment, the challenge we have is we're saying it's not likely to be there. But if the situation changes, we will obviously notify parents and make them aware that there are seats available. Right. I mean, it's a strange situation. The word unprecedented has been used forever, but it is, and I'm sure parents will understand that. But the fact is that their kids are going to go back to school as safely as possible in September, and if they can't get them there themselves, they will need some help in order to get them there. So it does worry me slightly that the word eligible is used, because it depends on what eligibility those children have, and those who aren't eligible, why they're not eligible, and whether they will find difficulty getting to school. And if you're coming from places like, from the outer bounds, and we'll have to name the school. It's basically English Martyrs that causes the greatest problem, because of the fact that they take from all of the town. So I think that there is a potential problem that we need to try and help you, Tony, to support you in getting right, because
there is quite a few schools though that, for Dyke House, for example, who are taken on board. They know exactly what they're doing and they've got a plan in place, and all students are getting there. The school have organised that and the school are providing that. The problem that we have is English Martyrs School will not pay for the transport to take all children to school. Maybe
they can't. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs.
I don't know, but
the problem being that, as Tony said, the local authority are responsible for getting those kids there. And
all the children.
And I don't think we should actually be putting it onto schools. I think we should definitely take the responsibility as a local authority. So it's really to support what you're doing as far as getting the buses in place in order to get those kids to school.
Sue.
maybe I should share an interest in this, because obviously my husband has a transport business. But what I'd like to say is speaking on behalf of the council, not the schools. We don't know how many children, because I've known about this question for a few weeks now. We don't know how many children are going to be eligible, because when the fare loss scheme finishes, there could be an increase with redundancies, and we can't be selling the 20 school seats if we need those 20 school seats for the children who are entitled to it. So I've already had this conversation with other officers. I know Tony's the highest one, but I've gone below him but they brought that to my attention. I thought, well, I won't be able to speak on this tomorrow, unfortunately, but that's as far as I'll go, because I've got an interest in, even though I don't do the school in question. So thank you.
Thanks, Sue. Shane?
Thank you, Chair. I don't disagree with what Councillor Harrison was just saying, but I think it is worthwhile us remembering that whilst we do have a responsibility to help get kids to school, we do that for those that we have the legal responsibility for. And whilst it would be great for us to say, yes, we'll make sure every kid gets to school, there are plenty of schools out there who are doing that and taking their own responsibility to do it. And I think it's a little bit unfair for us to single out one school and pay for all of those kids to get to school when other schools won't pay for, are paying for it. And then I guess it could be seen that we're giving positive discrimination the opposite way. And I get the various schools are completely different. I get that, but I think if we pay for one, then all we'll have is the other schools pulling out their own financial support and their willingness to help in this situation moving forward, because they'll say, well, if X school is getting it, why isn't Y?
Right, I will come back to you, Brenda, but I just need to make everybody aware that this is a question for full council on Thursday. So I didn't really want to go into depth about the reasons who, how and why. It was just basically for information. So it's not actually to be debated now. It's just for information. So if you want to come back, Brenda, that's perfectly fine. But
yeah,
it's not open for debate at the moment.
I'm not debating. I'm just going to say to Shane that I wasn't talking about paying for these kids. I was just talking about getting them on a bus for them to pay. That's a question and a debate for another time, but not here. It was nothing to do with the payment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. The last thing I want to put under items for information, I don't know if any of the councils online know that the Holiday Hunger Fund has been put together slightly different this year. Reason being is because I got a bee in my bonnet and I wanted to make sure that children were fed and the money was benefiting the children direct. So I am putting together around about 465 food hampers on Saturday and Sunday, ranging from 1 child family to 7 child family. I'm doing it in my own time. I am going to all the local retailers to buy thousands of tins, and that's no underestimation. And I will be putting them all together. Sue and I will be putting them all together on Saturday and Sunday at the Settle between the hours of 10 and 5 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. I would greatly appreciate anybody who has some time to pop along, even if it's an hour or 2 hours or all day, to come and put some tins into some hampers to be able so that the community voluntary organisations can pick them up on Monday. Just wanted to put that out for information. You don't have to agree, but everybody's hands are always welcome. Okay, thank you. So there's no other business which I consider urgent. Thank you for your time. Oh, Jim, sorry, Jim. Take yourself off mute, Jim.
Can I ask a generic question, which in view of the COVID, it might seem irrelevant from an attendance point of view. right? I know schools have to have a particular amount of attendance before potentially fines could be come into place. Yeah, if that's the way I used to see it. I think that's still in operation. What do we do for the people, or what are we thinking about in terms of children getting back into school? And maybe some parents might want to take advantage of that and not take the responsibility to get the kids to school in terms of making sure the attendance officers are there. Or our attendance is that low potentially because of the COVID, because you're not going to get the numbers back. So have we given any thought to that?
It's not on. I mean, it's not open for a discussion at the moment, Jim. It's not part of today's agenda. I believe it'll be a question that we could put to the schools when the schools come to the Children's Service Committee. I will put it on the meeting minutes note that you've asked that question, and maybe when the schools are in attendance, they may be able to answer that. But it's not on today's agenda to be able to.
I appreciate that. I just wanted to raise that and flag that up, for future. That's all right, Chair.
That's fine. Shane, do you have your hand up for?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just to answer Councillor Lindridge a bit, I read over the forward plan for committee meetings it was last week, and there is a report coming to this committee in the near future in relation to attendance and the thresholds for attendance and fines, etc. I can't remember when that is, but it should be coming up shortly.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Pleasure to do business. Speak to you all later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.